In this session, we're looking at the setup for stock synchronization. We're going to go to Utility Setup and Company Details. And here we're going to choose the Enterprise Settings tab. What is different with the synchronization to what we've done up to now with centralization is the synchronization has to be switched on, and the stock grouping has to be selected on all the companies. So we will not just do it in our branches. We will also make sure that our head office, our company 001, 002 and 003 have got these changes. So I'm going to say enable stock grouping synchronization. And then I've got to specify the stock grouping. But before we click on the down arrow, I'm just going to show you how to maintain it. So we first of all going to click on Setup and Maintain the Stock Groups. If you click on the button, click to maintain, it's going to open your stock grouping option under Module Parameters and the Stock tab. Here I've created 3 different groupings. My example here would be that I've got a couple of branches in each province, and I will now concentrate on the 3 branches in the Western Cape. I might have 10 different companies or branches in Gauteng. I might have 7 in Natal. But what is important to remember is that each one of these stock groupings have got their own stock. So my Gauteng branches or companies will have a different stock file to my Western Cape companies. So here all you have to do is add. Remember, if you do add, the number must be unique and you must remember to save. But you can also delete stock groupings if you needed to. Remember, don't delete if you've got these stock groupings still selected. Okay, I am now going to select Western Cape. The second setup that you've got to make sure you look at is the Setup and Maintenance Synchronization option. In other words, here you've got to specify what will be allowed to happen if it's a new item and what will be allowed to happen if it's an existing item. Remember, you cannot manipulate the cost. The cost price for the stock can and most likely will be different for each of the branches because they will have their own cost levels and they will have their own on-hand quantities. Just to give you an example, you now have to make sure that you go through your company, select the company and specify what is allowed. I, for instance, have, if it's a new item, I can look at all the options and I can decide that I want to perhaps switch some of these options off. Okay, there's a specific option that is usually by default off when it's a new item, and that's the bin location, because the area where goods are stored in different retail environments will most likely have a different position in the one shop to what it would be in another. So that's something you most likely won't change. But you have to go through these options if it's an existing or a new item. Once you've set all of these options up for each company, you can click on Accept. Now you've got to make sure that you enable the stock grouping for all 3 companies and that you've selected the same stock grouping. I'm going to conclude the session and just make sure that my other 2 companies have got the same selection.